What's going on, guys? You're about to hear from a guy who went from serving in the Marine Corps to building over 500 plus units across Southern California. He's built a 7-figure business in the backyard construction game, literally turning ADUs into assets. He owns over $10 million in real estate, and he didn't do it with handouts or family money. What did he do? He did it with grit, focus, and a blueprint he built himself. His name? Brian Coons, aka The Builder Brian. And in this episode, he's breaking down how you can build wealth from the ground up like he did. Now, let's get straight to the point. Brian, would you say ADU development is the most slept on hack in SoCal real estate?
What's one lie you had to unlearn?
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Straight to the Point. I'm your co-host, Tristan Guerrero, alongside here, Isaac Ramirez, West Coast Property Bros, baby. We right here have Brian. Thank you for coming on, Brian, on the episode. Yeah?
Stoked, man. I'm excited to be here.
Hell yeah. Let's get right into it, man. So, first things first, you were in the Marines, and now you're building high value, managing and developing your own communities in the EDU space. Can you kind of tell the audience, how did you get into EDUs?
Yeah, so it was a journey. So I did 8 years in the military, and my first one was when I was in Carolina. I didn't know what a duplex was at that point. I had no idea about real estate. And I came over to San Diego in 2019. From there, this dude came and talked to us at drill instructor because that was my job when I came over to San Diego to be a drill instructor. And he came and he made this little tiny blurb about house hacking. And this little thing stuck. And it just all of a sudden made sense. Like, oh, you can live in one unit, rent out the others, and you make money. And you get appreciation, you get tax, or debt payoff. And his whole thing was like, you make $100,000 in your three-year investment. Just like that. And from there, I sort of, long story short, at that point, I got into a property. But then from there, I didn't qualify for anything else. So from there, I bought land in San Diego. And just from there, it was the 80 laws came out at the same time. And it was just, the rest was history in a way.
Land in San Diego, that's pretty uncommon.
It was very uncommon. I learned in hindsight. Yeah, a lot of what I did, I realized it was very much like building the parachute on the way down. And it was one of those things where I talked to the right people. It functionally made sense to me. This dude was talking to us then he was talking about unused. Yeah. And they had this little blurb about like, build at 300, you sell at 700. And that math made sense to me. And from there, I talked to a couple buddies. My buddy's dad was a contractor. And we just decided, we met in like November, and then we were in escrow.
Did you know from the get-go that you wanted to be an EDUs like 100% over a single family? Like, why did you choose to go that route first?
Yeah, so it started because the first property I bought was a 4-unit property in San Diego, so it was very, very expensive. It was like $1.2 million. And I didn't really understand what debt-to-income ratio was when I bought it. I was making a little bit more money as a drill instructor because I was getting off base, so I got like the housing allowance. Yeah. And the interest rates were super low. And then you can also add the other properties' income that you aren't living in, and the rents to your stated income to help offset that. So it was a thing where I would underwrite it, and I was fairly conservative at the time of underwriting. And I was like, yep, this makes sense to me. This hits my metrics. And so like, I just wanted to live for free. Yeah. That was like another thing. Like, pulling the rents and being able to live for free is all I cared about. And so I would like underwrite it. Yeah, so it was a good goal to have. At the time, it was doable, which was crazy. And I would send it to my lender, and he'd just be like, yep, you're qualified. And then we know other questions. Yep, you're good every time. And so we just put in offers, and I finally got one, bought it, and then I was like, this is so easy. Like, let's get into the next property. And then the bank's like, you don't qualify for shit. And there it was, I think in hindsight, there's a million different directions I could have went, but that was just the one that I was like, yep, this is the only option is to buy dirt and then build stuff. Yeah. And I just kind of like went from there.
Yeah. And you mentioned you changed it during escrow to 8 units.
Yeah. So it was, and this is kind of like, I think to really press the point on, this was like why it was such a mind-blowing experience for me building ADUs, was because we went into escrow on this land expecting to get 4 units. Something that was underwritten for 4 units. They had designs done for 4 units, and we were going in expecting for 4. The month that we went into escrow was the month that the bonus ADU program in the city of San Diego came out. which is the most liberal zoning reform in the entire country. So we went through about a month and a half, like reading all the code, talking to the city, spending a ton of time doing it, but we ended up realizing we put 8 on the top of it. So overnight, we just doubled the count. And that was at the same time COVID was doing this in the market and just going up and up and up. And so I started like spreading the word of ADUs like the gospel and just like trying to tell anyone like ADUs, bro, ADUs. It's like, look at this is amazing. Like, it was crazy.
So most people are kind of curious a little bit more on the origin, right? Like most people, they want to become a homeowner. They don't typically just think investing, right? Was that something you like growing up, making first time in the military? Like, how did the whole investor concept get adopted versus just wanting to own a home, start a family, own that kind of risk?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, easy start because I didn't have a family of my own at that time. My family's from Ohio originally. I'm in San Diego and I was single at the time. And for me, I knew functionally like my first investment, staying in shape, building good relationships, saving money, kind of were these foundational cornerstones that I kind of like meant to call it, is like just these cornerstone things where it's like if you can get these together, you can now play the game. Whatever the game is, you have money, you have your health, you have good relationships, you're happy.
Game of life.
Yeah, it is. It's literally the game of life to me. It's like, it is kind of a game. So for me, what I did was I was able to kind of just start, I don't know, I was able to kind of set myself up for success to start. For when the thing that stuck with me was able to happen. So to answer your question, hilariously, I had no background in real estate investing. I had no one in my family who was really a real estate investor anyway. They were homeowners, but outside of campus in Ohio, like no investment. And I didn't even know what real estate investing was. I didn't even know what a duplex was until I was like reading books about real estate investing. So no, I didn't really have like a background, and I just functionally like knew that setting up the foundation for when you're ready with whatever that thing is. And I knew what the word investing meant, but I didn't really know what it meant. And then, like I said, the dude came to talk to us, and something just clicked in my head. And then COVID happened, and when I got into that property, I had this time frame of about 11 months where my entire day job was just very slow. I had a lot of time doing that, and I had a lot of time to something. So what that time was spent doing was learning about, like, I was reading books, I was listening to every, like, Bigger Pockets, all these, like, how's that new podcast, like, everything I could on real estate investing, just trying to figure out, like, what entrepreneurship like.
Originally, you're from Ohio, right? Did you move to San Diego because of the military?
Yeah.
So which ranch?
So I was in Marine Corps.
Nice.
So yeah, I was in Virginia Beach. So my first enlistment, I was in the band. I was in tuba player. And literally played tuba. We traveled around, did
Biggest instrument.
Yeah, the biggest instrument for the smallest person. Yeah. So yeah, we traveled around quite a bit. Like it was a cool job. Functionally, I understood what the role was, and got done with it after my first enlistment. Was ready to do something I think a little bit different and help me feel a little more fulfilled, and was kind of chasing fulfillment. That's what led me up to San Diego to be a drill instructor. Just figured that was kind of the only other thing that I could do. Like, let's just do the opposite side of the spectrum of, trying to help and play my part. So
Yeah.
It's a huge shift, from Ohio to San Diego.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Yeah. No, I got to San Diego, and like I said, the real estate market hit, and people were good. Like the weather, it wasn't even here a year. I'm like, yeah.
So kind of, you used your first UVA loan, right? And then are you continuing to use UVA?
No, so because I bought it at the start of COVID, I have a 2.25 interest rate on it. So it's just kind of stuck there for forever. I'm out of entitlement because it was so expensive. And it doesn't make sense to refinance it because the interest rate's so low. So every other property I've gotten, I've had to get scrappy. I've used my conventional or not my loan with a buddy. They help me long by for it because I won't a long time money, so I co-signed with him. I, had my other buddy co-sign or used his own property, and then hard money, like the land we bought was a land loan, and then we had that land we sold for way more than we should have, and we were able to 1031 that money into some other deals, and now it's just kind of, found partners, gotten spread.
Would you say being in the military, right, you're surrounded by your brothers in arms, would you say that the VA loans, so you have to realize, like, what's kind of your experience using it, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's like 7%.
Yeah. The VA loan is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful loan tool out there to get into real estate investing, and one of the most grossly utilized. And it's one of those things for military members. They are so busy with everything else that they don't have many great options to push the VA loan to start, but then secondarily to get them to shift their paradigm to understand that it can be a tool to help them build wealth for their family, not just getting into a property. So I know a lot of people who have used it, but they buy it to buy the big nice home that, you know, they don't necessarily add any value to, they don't force any appreciation, and then they go to move, and then they sell it, and they're like, oh man, it's gonna cost me 20 grand to sell this thing because of age appreciations. There's some people I do know that didn't do that last little piece. And so, you know, they go 20 years and they hold on to 5, 6, 7 properties, and all of a sudden they look really, really smart at the end of it. But those are fewer and far between for sure. So yeah, I think it's just in general, it's something where there needs to be more education for it. And there's some great people out there like Military Millionaire that's spreading the word of it, but there's still a lot of people that it's taboo to talk about money to begin with and investing. And then it's something where people are really scared to make the jump. A lot of people have families, so getting into something new, it's very scary for them. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why. A lot of excuses, I would say, more so than actual like reasons. There's just a lot of excuses, but it's there, and it's, you know, when you're around people all day long where that's kind of culture, it's hard to kind of break out of that mold. So.
Real quick, we're your hosts, Tristan Guerrero and Isaac Ramirez, and we run the West Coast Property Bros. We're full-time real estate agents, property managers, and loan originators based right here in Southern California. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest, manage your property, or get help with loan origination, or break down the real estate game, we got you. Or if you want some advice, let us know. Visit us at westcoastpropertybros.com or hit us up on Instagram at West Coast Property Bros and let us know how we can help you. Now, let's get straight back into the episode.
Totally. And, you know, coming from interviewing you, the guy that got into the EDU game, what would you say after doing it tenfold now is people's first mistake when getting into it, or maybe you've been encountered recently?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if you're getting into building an ADU, you have no idea where to start. All you need to understand is it feasible? That's the question you need to answer. There's two parts to it. There's physical feasibility and financial feasibility. The physical feasibility is two parts. It's what does the city say that I'm allowed to build? So how much am I allowed to build? How high am I allowed to build? How much square footage? All of those little pieces. Most of that stuff you can find out online. And then the second portion is what actually exists on the lot. Is there an access issue? Is the house blocking where the person could walk functionally? Is it a big hillside? Is the soil like imported dirt that's not buildable? All of these things. So you figure out those two, answer all those questions. You say, cool, now I know it's physically feasible. Other side is financial feasibility. So how much is it going to cost to build what I'm trying to build here? And does it actually make sense from a financial perspective? Am I going to be able to get finance? How much money am I going to need to raise? How much money is it going to make on the back end? And if you can answer those three questions, 90% of your issues are solved. And then from there, it's just going through the process, answering the questions at the right time, starting things at the right time, staying up with the designer, with all the engineers and everything. Just really, it's follow up. Just make sure, hey, when are you going to have this done by? Okay, cool. And then making sure they have it done by that day.
Totally. Yeah.
And yeah, from there, it's just going through that and hiring the right contractor, which is ask for referrals from people that are using them at the moment.
Where you were in a project and it didn't go as planned.
Well, I have so many. That's pretty much every project on. Yeah, I have many learning lessons. It's kind of one of the things when you build the parachutes on the way down and you, from day one of saying, I'm going to buy a property to be an escrow, it's like 2 weeks, and then saying land is like a month. You definitely had some learning lessons on the way down.
Yeah.
One specifically was this 2-unit property that we were turning into 6 units with the existing space. Because of all the different ADU regulations that I was able to finagle and figure out, I was like, we can turn this into 6 units.
Right.
And what happened is we bought it with a code violation on it. So which didn't scare me at all. I was like, I've done this, 100, 200 times at that point. Like I know how to do it. But I said, if we're not going to get the code violation fixed, we're just going to do what we're doing and then just go through cleanups for this and get it up to code for this. Issue with that is, number one, the city inspector was pissed, because I poorly explained it to them, because I explained exactly what we were going to do to her. I on the phone, I was like, this is exactly what we're going to do. Apparently I didn't make it clear enough of we're doing it now. The other thing was, we were $7,500,000 into this project, and we went to the lender and said, hey, can we have our first draw? And they said, cool, where's the permits? And I'm like, excuse me? I thought that we explained it very, very clearly to them, but I think it was me as the problem, as both city inspector and lender maybe didn't understand we were doing it now. Yeah. And so they said, no, sorry, we need permits. We would never give money for work that's unpermitted. So we, at the same time, were also managing 7 other renovations that we were dumping money into across 2 other properties at the same time. So it was something that very much, in hindsight, learning lessons, it's, we had a lot of cash flow issues on these projects. So I didn't realize how much holding costs would really add up when timelines and budgets go over. And so that was, I think, the biggest thing is whatever you think it's going to take in terms of money and time for a project, make sure you have way more in contingency for that whole period than you think you're going to need. Because if you don't, the project doesn't get done. So I'd rather spend, I'd rather raise another $50,000 or $100,000 for a project and make sure I have that buffer, pay the extra $5-10 grand, whatever the holding costs are for that money, rather than try and be right on the money of exactly how much it's going to cost to save that extra couple $1,000s. And then when things go to shit, you're the one holding the bag and you can't actually get the project finished. So it's actually raising more money, makes the project less risky in a lot of scenarios.
Right.
So
that's interesting. I appreciate you sharing that, man. So kind of I want to backtrack a little bit. You said feasibility was the number one thing to look for in terms of risk investment, right? Do you have your own system? I know with the Builder Nation, right? It's a brand new company. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Do you have your own certain system with it that you've developed over time? That's just streamlines it and that kind of makes it easy for somebody maybe just starting off their investment journey?
Yeah. So it's a really good question. So to kind of frame it, the reason the Builder Nation exists is, I had this very unique experience working at a company that saw over 500 ADU projects while I was at the same time going through my own developments. So every project, I was in charge of basically every shit show that happened, everything that went wrong with the projects, underwriting, determining what to build, working with the homeowner, explaining the process to somebody who has no idea. That was my entire day job, all day long, every single day. So it was a very unique experience with a lot of reps in the space that I'm super grateful for. And then from there, I, had left, and now there's this issue where all of California and almost all of the country at this point is allowed ADUs. And so what it's done is it's put the power of being a real estate developer in the hands of a homeowner. And up to this point, it's only been for the people that, have a lot of money, have a lot of experience. And so they kind of understand the game, right? So my thing is, how do we help the person who's the standard homeowner skip the learning curve of real estate development, which there's a significant learning curve to it, to help prevent them from having the issues of infeasibility or spending, 20, 30 grand on design, submitting to the city, and then they can't actually build what they're going to build. Or they get through and then they find out on the back end, oh shit, this is going to be really expensive to build and it doesn't actually make sense for the project anymore. Yeah. So that's what I created. So I have two ways. I have the course that I built, which is the entire process of A to Z of what to build or what questions to ask, when to ask them, the entire process, paired with all the tools, the checklist, the underwriting tools, the cost estimators, everything that I built over the past 5 years of doing this all day long to help people. I could give them that and say, you're ready to go. You have, all the questions you need to ask. You have a good understanding of the process. And then the second layer is the actual community where somebody wants the more DIY or, the done with you model where they want the hand holding. They want the help learning how to underwrite better, things like that. That's what this site's for. And both of those for the Builder Nation is just created to help that homeowner that doesn't necessarily have a background in development be able to treat their project exactly like a developer would to avoid the mistakes that a homeowner I've seen do a million times. So
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
thank you. I'm
When,
excited.
does that launch recently or how long
Yeah.
ago?
So I recently have left the job about 5 months ago now, and finally launched the Builder Nation in July. And so everything's up and running, the course, the community. And then the other side is HK Development, which is the actual development company. So if someone like either has capital or they just want the completely hands-off like model, they don't even want to play around with it. That's what the other side's for. So we do basically turnkey ADUs for them and completely white glove service. So.
Brian, would you say ADU development is the most slept on hack in SoCal real estate?
ADUs are the most valuable investment strategy in 2025, hands down.
Dang.
They are there's the biggest opportunity because every single property in California now has the potential to build an ADU. So every property is underdeveloped and there's so many ways to get into it. You get house hack, you can use hard money loans to add value. So ADUs are a great modality to get additional density to make a property work. But the best play is buying a distressed existing asset and then adding an ADU to it.
Dang. Brian, when you're successful now, but when you first started, what would you say was the dumbest thing you did?
Well, number one, I appreciate that. Already, we're there. Still working on it. I think that I'm happy with the whole process, right? Like, it got me to where I'm at, but the things that I think I would have been more careful about were the amount of partnerships that I got into right away. I'm so grateful that they've all worked out arguably very well for how they could have went, based on other stories I hear. But that's one thing that I've learned is to be very intentional with who you partner with and be very clear on how the partnership is structured, who's responsible for what. Because if you leave ambiguity, things are good until they're not. And you truly don't know somebody until things are not good. And that was something I found, to be very enlightening in that. And so, in hindsight, that's probably one of the biggest things. Like I said, very lucky with how it turned out, but it could have been for the worse very easily in a lot of ways.
Dang. Did you have any bad partnerships?
I mean, luckily, no. I'm very happy with all my partners. We obviously, any relationship, right? You're going to have ups and downs and nightmares and shit shows and arguments and all that stuff. But no, at the end of the day, every single person I partner with, I trust wholeheartedly. And it's like really very lucky where some other people don't necessarily have that. So yeah, it is a big thing, that I learned from it for sure.
It's incredible, man. And then, I mean, just the mindset and grit and perseverance that it takes to like be a real estate investor, right? From like the projects to finding the tenants, to put in there and partnerships, all this other stuff. I know you're ex-Marine. Would you say that your background, military background, helped build, your discipline and overall your mindset? Like, how do you stay disciplined when motivation isn't necessarily there?
It's a great question. I think that there was portions that strengthened throughout being in the military, but being a drill instructor was kind of a cool spot because if at the end of the day, if somebody is a shitty dude, they're going to be a shitty dude. Whether it's now they're good at getting dressed in the morning or not, like they're gonna, who they are is always going to be there. I will say that you can train yourself to shorten those thoughts and to change, I think, how you act and how you believe. But yeah, for me, at least, I think that it just kind of strengthened what was already there. Not that I was like the most, disciplined person in the world, but I definitely feel like I even when I was like in high school, I would wake up and I would show up to school 2 hours early to practice tuba like every single day because I wanted to get into the military band. And then I would go, after school, I would exercise, things like that. So I think that, that's the biggest thing is, it helps strengthen, but I think that, the fundamentals are, you have to build them. And I believe that everyone can build them. But if you don't go out of your way, you revert back to what is the base level or the baseline. So
I think it's the same applies with like money, right? Like when they say like the more money you make or if you have no money, like it just amplifies who you are.
No, 100%. It's like, that's such a true statement it's one of those things where it's like somebody can be bad with it. I mean, you're saying bad with $100 or bad with $100,000 and they're going to be as bad with it as possible either way. I heard it, not specifically money, but like even in a business, like automations only amplify a good or a bad process. And my buddy told me that, and that's something that even sticks with me in like business is like really interesting. It's like, yeah, some of those things it's what is the core issue and getting down to that core issue, not putting a Band-Aid on it to try and fix it. Because I mentioned before, is like when you go to when things get tough, that's when you really see and you revert back to where baseline is. So change the baseline.
Well, yeah. And I like how you mentioned that you focus on your health, making sure that your body is a temple, but also building wealth at the same time. I love that, all about what you said right now. Why do you think it's just as important to know how to build to incorporating what you all have now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
Like,
I think that there are like very foundational pillars that everyone's life has to have to be fulfilled. It's relationships. It's, being happy being able to control emotions, having some sort of achievement in your day. There's a concept called PERMA. It's a psychological one. It's, positive emotions, engagement, relationships, mastery, and achievement. And all five of those things have different pieces inside of it. And as long as you can, on a daily basis, fulfill all five of those things, you as a whole are generally going to be very fulfilled. Where if you dump all your time and your success in life into a relationship, for example, if that relationship goes away, all of a sudden your overall life fulfillment is at zero because nothing else was filled up. Where if that one pillar, that 20% goes down to 10% now because you lost your girlfriend or whatever, but everything else is at 15 to 20% each, you're still at 85, 90% of overall life fulfillment.
right.
So I think that for me, that's really what the biggest push is really just trying to overall focus on all of it, not put too many chips in one basket. And as long as you're doing the things on a daily basis, calling your mom, being a good person to your friends, putting yourself out there to meet new people, going to the gym, saving up money, not being dumb with your money, investing, like all those things, like as long as you do that on a daily basis, like you're gonna be successful. You have to try to not be successful if you do all those things. So it made sense from a very early time for me, and I've just continued doing it, and I'm very lucky it's gotten me to where I've been, I think. So.
I love that. I'm kind of curious, kind of off topic a little bit, but what is the dumbest thing you've purchased now that you're successful, right? You've seen real estate money kind of coming in.
Purchased. Oh God, I mean, it was probably one of the properties that I had to fire sell. But it's hard, man. Like I've made dumb purchases. They're normally small dumb purchases though. So it's like little things like, I'm like, I'm going to go buy some clothes today or something. And it was like a shirt that I wore like one time. And I'm like, this was a terrible purchase and stuff. But I think that was one thing where I just never made like these big, stupid decisions. Like my car, I've had my car for like 10 plus years now, and I'm going to drive it into the ground. I don't regret any vacation I went on. Like, so yeah, it's always like little things, like little tiny things that don't really matter. Cause I'm like, if it ends up being dumb, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So.
I like how you use your money for experiences, right? And that's something you'll never regret.
Yeah. No, that's like being out of the military now for a few years. Like I've been very intentional to travel more. And very lucky. I just went to Mexico for a month with my girlfriend, and we worked remote there in June. We're going to Bali in a month for another month. Like we're staying busy. And so, that's part of that fulfillment, right? To me is travel. And bucket list adventures is what one of the mastermind groups I'm in calls it, is just being intentional with it. Because if you're not intentional, you're not going to do it. And so, I have my whole like list of like all through like 2027 of all the trips we're going to do. We're starting to like build them out and stuff, and being very intentional, because otherwise you just kind of get busy with life.
Right. What's one lie you had to unlearn? Right. That you were taught maybe when you were younger, or
money is taboo. Growing up, no one talks about money in the generation before us. It's very weird to say how much you make, to say how much money you have and things like that. And for me, I'm like, that is, I think, one of the biggest things where it's good to give people a reference point and to share it, and not in a gloating way, not saying, oh, this is how much money I make, but it's like, hey, here's like, this is possible. And so people above me, I'm very gracious when they share the numbers on their real estate deals, for example, or they share how much they made at their job, because it gives you context of what's possible. Where if you just say like, you try and hide it, I think that it makes it to where it's the lack of transparency. And I think it makes it to where it's harder for people to connect with you, especially if you have like a personal brand or something where, people just want the real. And I think that like, you either make the money you're making or you don't. So either you're lying about it or like, just share it. Like who cares? It's literally money. It's an inanimate object. It's a construct that society made up. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
So
what was your initial purpose getting into ADU development, other than like being able to read books, gaining the knowledge, the wealth, the wisdom through ADU development? Was there something that you had to prove? Like what was your overall purpose coming into the industry?
Yeah, I think that everyone starts in their real estate journey as, they have that financial freedom number and they want the freedom of things. I quickly learned that for me, I just liked the concept of development specifically because it's a game. Because if you have a property, I'll give you the example. If you have a house, you can renovate it. You can turn it into an Airbnb, whatever, but it's like the house is the house. For ADUs and for real estate development, I love the fact that there's a million right answers. We could do an 800 square foot house. We could do a 1200 with a deck. We could do 1,000 with parking. Like there's no right answers. There's only your best guess based on the information you can put together.
Right.
And so this space, and doing this now 1,000 times with all these homeowners, like every one of them is a game. Every one of them is a puzzle that we're just trying to make our best guess. And it's just so fun. And it can be done at any level. It can be done at the garage conversion level. It can be done at, a small multifamily. It can be done at a 1,000 unit complex in Austin, Texas, like a hotel, like where we're at right now. Like, So there's no right answer and it's only best guesses. And I love that because you're just trying your best. And so it stuck with me.
The creativity aspect of it.
Yeah.
You just can be creative as possible. Like you're literally building something from scratch.
It's a very engaging space, and every single time there's something I've learned, like painfully learned. So never like, no one will ever be perfect in real estate development.
I mean, if it was perfect, it'd be boring.
Exactly. No, 100%. So just, doing more and more and bigger stuff and just continuing to have fun with it. And I've noticed the people are generally good people in real estate, and it makes me happy.
I like that. I'm kind of curious. I mean, you've read or you've done an extensive amount of research. Personal development, right, has been a big topic for you. Mm-hmm. Is there like rapid fire round, right?
Yeah.
Is there a book, podcast, or anything that you recommend anybody read? Not even just real estate investors.
Stillness is the Key is probably the book that got me hooked on the concept of stoicism. And the stoicism is how I've learned to control my emotions through, not to go too deep into it right now, but as a drill instructor, I had a very rough time with my team for a portion of it. And I was the angriest I've ever been in my life. I was going to anger management classes and really just couldn't control it because it was something I never experienced before. Right. And going through that and reading this book too, and kind of having this concept of detachment from things that you can't control and just accepting them for what they are really stuck with me. And to this day, it's like I've went through some wild financial situations, emotional situations, and things like that. And I'm happy with how I handle them for the most part, because I think that it's very, from a perspective of now it's how do we solve this issue, not let me complain.
What would you say is a rule, right, for new investors that you like?
There's one rule for new investors hopping in, trying to do ADU.
Talk to people. Talk to people who have done it. Talk to people who are actively doing it. Don't talk to people that have no idea what they're talking about or haven't done it before.
Boom. Okay. Easy enough. What's your favorite project that you've worked on or you built, and why?
My favorite project is actually a 4-unit project over in LA Gardens. So single family, we turned into 4 units with the ADU play. Uh-huh. And that was where I learned the difference between what you can build and what you should build. Because we could have put 8 units or 9 units on that property. But by having the self-regulation to only put 4, the product is the best product I've ever put out. I'm so happy with it. It rents incredibly, and it's a great project.
Hey, thank you so much, guys, for watching today's episode on Straight to the Point. Brian, we really appreciate you coming out on today's episode. If you have any questions for him, please comment them down below and we'll let him know. Other than that, I'm Tristan Guerrero. alongside Isaac Ramirez. We're your West Coast property bros, selling, buying, investing, and managing all over Southern California, from San Diego, Inland Empire, and Orange County. If you ever have questions about getting into the real estate in one of those 4 categories, please let us know. But if you're also looking to maybe take that next step into real estate, maybe it is the loan side, maybe it is the real estate side, let us know how we can help support you as well. This channel is meant for everyone trying to start their own business, take that first step, and not be afraid and go past fear, so that you are able and feel empowered to make that next step. So stay tuned for more, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.